Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
Good morning and a very warm welcome to Newsline, live from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And Bandula, good morning to you.
Good morning, Faraz Shaukat Ali.
Wonderful to have you on the show, and especially that you got my name right. And we're also delighted to welcome back home Malik Kader, former senior advisor to the Ministry of Finance, amongst other things. Good morning, Malik.
Good morning,
And,
Faraz, good morning, Bandula.
And welcome back to the network.
Thank you.
Malik, what on earth's happening to the economy? What's happening to the stock market?
Well, about the stock market, Faraz, I think the Sri Lankan stock market is now settling down. There are loads of people out there who've been talking about the stock market, and there is also a group who basically saying that the stock market is crashing. But you look at historical data, the stock market skyrocketed to 7,800 points, and then it plummeted back to 4,500 points. It actually crashed. But right now, the stock market is reading about in and out 6,000 points.
Right. Is that the natural level?
You're spot on. In fact, you're looking at the market, looking at the fundamentals, looking at some of the companies who are performing. I find that the market is settling down, and these are very realistic values. Look at the scenario when the market went up to 7,800. You had the fundamentally, right, weak companies, share prices skyrocketing. Net asset value of 10 to 15 rupee companies, the share price was skyrocketing over 1,000.
That's right.
10 rupees, 150. So we had scenarios like that. Now you can see those companies are settling down. Their share prices are not crashing. They are reaching reality. The companies who are fundamentally strong during that period, their share price was down. But now those prices are gradually coming up. And we have reached a fair amount of stability. And the turnovers you're looking at the market for us, that is a very realistic level. You're looking at about in and around 1 billion rupees for a day. Good old days we had when the market was being, market was skyrocketing, there were turnover as much as 7 to 8 billion on a single day.
And now?
And that was a credit bubble. Now I think we are in the 1 billion range.
As a matter of routine.
Yes, because looking at our market size, we're a very small market.
And Malik, we saw, and the papers are full of it this morning, as Bandul has also noticed, and our dear Prime Minister is much in the news thanks to that, and it's a matter of Sri Lankan Airlines. I didn't quite get the value that the Prime Minister disclosed yesterday, but it was several billion losses. Is there any legal or not legal, but is there a real requirement? Does it say anywhere in any manual that a country needs a national airline? Is it essential?
I don't think anywhere it is stated that the country needs a national airline. But looking at developing countries, right, it is a pride for the country to have a national airlines.
Yes,
you look at the developed countries, right? They don't take that much of a pride of a national airline, right? But for us,
the thing is that
there are plenty of private airlines.
Yes, there are plenty of private airlines. But for us, we take pride in saying that the country has a national airline.
It could be. Do you think sometimes this national airline can be construed as an extension of the Ministry of Tourism?
Yes.
And so in that case, the Ministry of Tourism must find a budget to subsidize that.
Quite right. You're spot on. You're spot on. Having said that, for us, one needs to look at have a very realistic approach on basically government running businesses. Whether the government has the capacity to run businesses, because these are very highly competitive, highly technical skills that are needed to run airlines.
You can't be having, you need a bit more qualification than knowing a gentleman who lives on Fifth Lane and who then became the Prime Minister via being the leader of the United National Party.
Yeah, but
you need more qualification
But the previous
than that.
government, it was
Every
our president's brother-in-law, now
That's right.
the Prime Minister's classmate.
Prime
right?
Minister's classmate, I think he's, yes, a friend,
Friend.
who's quite good at selling coffee, of course. But, you know,
but I think
like Malik
both
says,
did the mistake, but I think the time of Rakita Vikramanayake, and we worked with Singapore Airlines, the airline did better.
Yeah, for us to get on to that particular point, I mean, I don't think we can blame individuals basically who are even sitting on boards. It has to go beyond that. The board has to set policy. Board doesn't have to sit and basically decide on technicalities. That is where you need to have competent people working, salaried employees, who will basically decide and convince the board on policies.
and who are rewarded appropriately.
That's
And
right.
who knows the business of airlines.
That's right.
Coming to that, I was actually, yesterday, I think I was very happy to hear the Prime Minister making this announcement. I was also very happy to hear the Honourable Minister of Finance also making a comment, not with reference to Sri Lankan Airlines, but he went on to say that there has to be a private-public partnership. This
Indeed.
country has to be driven by a private-public economic partnership
Yeah, referring
if
to-
we are to take this to the next level. Why I say so for us, when it's a private partnership,
Yeah.
when it's a private organization, a private company, right, before making any move, they will think 10 times or even much more than that. Because if the company is to bleed, it is their money, right? So they'll be very conscious before taking a decision. In government, unfortunately, I don't blame the government officials. It is inhuman to think so that it will run in their blood that this is their money. No, it is not their money. It is the money of the public of this country, right? Entrusted on them.
Why
They
is
will do the
And
job.
Malik, this becomes job factories. This is
That's
what happened
right.
when it's government. And
Right.
for us,
So
and
for
But
us,
there
that
are
is why-
over 13,000
No, so
employees at
for
the
us-
Sri Lanka
no,
Ports Authority,
for
for
us,
example.
that is why we need to get the benefit of the private sector in running government organizations, right? So that is why this public-private partnership becomes important. In fact, people might try to coin this, saying that you're looking at a privatization and all that kind of stuff. Look at Sri Lankan Airlines when Emirates were running it, right? We had profits, right? There were profits coming down. Today, every passenger leaving Katunayaka, the poor people of this country are giving them some money, subsidizing their travel. That is the loss we're having.
Is there any state-owned business since independence that has actually been properly profitable? Can you think of any government-owned business?
There are monopolies. There are monopolies, of course, held by government, and obviously those things will have to be run profitably. But the thing is this, there's an opportunity loss. If we had better management, if we had better skill set, if we had better research and development there, they would have been yielding definitely better and higher returns in life. I'm not for a while
Yes.
trying to say that there is incompetencies in the government sector,
Yeah.
right? I mean, there are competent people, but then the private sector engine moves much more faster than that.
Malik, I think now take the Sydney airport is run by a private company. They're doing very well, making profits. I think even the trains should be privatized because then it will run. Look at how people suffer. We don't have any transport minister going and looking at our transport system.
Yeah,
Take the trains.
having said that, I fully agree. This concept that government should not be in business. Government should never be in business. Government should not be running 5-star hotels.
Or resort hotels in
right?
KKS.
That is not the business of the government, right? You need to identify your priorities. You need to take the private sector and you see, drive this economy with the private
What do
sector.
you think?
And also basically give the necessary incentives necessary for the private sector. Now yesterday I saw, I think today's paper also, there was a caption that the BOI is, strapping down
The incentives.
on the incentives, tax holidays. I can understand if there's a long queue of people, foreigners lined up before the BOI taking applications that we can't cope up with it, then certainly, well, that is good policy. But here, we want foreign investors to come into this country.
Yeah.
We are looking at this megapolis. Megapolis is a 40 billion US dollar project. If 10% of that comes into this country, we are done for us, right? This country will be definitely another place. So we need to roadshow this. We need to basically give people the necessary
But
incentives.
how necessary is it that on our way to roadshow all these things and to highlight opportunities Sri Lanka, how critical and essential is it to fly business or first class and to stay at the Beverly Hills Hotel or at the Savoy or the Ritz or wherever the world's better hotels are? How necessary is that then? Why can't they stay in $100 a night hotel, sufficiently thick mattress, good shower,
And fly economy class.
and fly economy class? Why not?
But I think
It's
for
not their money.
Yeah.
It's
No,
not
you're-
like the owners of their own companies traveling and spending their own money. We've got no problem with that. But the minute you have a public element into it, then I think you really need to be more mindful. Oh, and golden jackets.
Yes, golden jackets. And I can relate to your incident, Faraz and Malik. Now, when I was in Sydney, when former Minister Basil Rajapaksa came, I went with the protocol officer to the airport, and we had a senior Australian protocol officer with us. So my protocol officer went to the business class now. Then Basil Rajapaksa said, no, first class. So we took him to the lounge. And now when we were returning, this very senior Australian immigration officer, she asked me, Minister, how can we fly first class? I had no answer to give. This is what they asked. How can, and where he stayed in the best of hotels, whereas the speaker at that time, Chamal Rajapaksa, led a very simple life, went by a van. The contrast for us.
Yeah, he's a wonderfully simple man.
But for us, there are restrictions imposed, I think, in the government mechanism and authority about people flying on different classes. So I think I have never seen anywhere that there's a first class being authorized. Maybe I'm wrong, right? But generally, I think a certain category of senior officials are permitted to fly business class. Having said that, I must tell you, for us, looking at Sri Lanka, we have come a very long way. Overnight, basically, you're trying to have a change tomorrow, right? Saying that this is
Malik,
not fair. You need to go. There has to be a gradual process,
Malik,
and the lead has to be taken from the top.
I'm going to disagree with you. I agree with you in that sense, but we've had 69 years to get this right. We've been independent.
So on the 70th year, at once you can't do it. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, we
On
will
the
always say
70th
gradual.
year-
No, come on, Malik. No, this has to change. I agree with Faraz. We have to change.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'd like to see these changes in my lifetime.
It will happen. But
Not in my.
for which a positive step has to be taken today, right? And that step is not basically asking everyone to trim, right? They are fat.
Why
But
can't
to
they
gradually-
trim their fat?
You have to
Why-
it has to gradually be phased out because they are all humans.
Yes, but why can't they get used to staying in a, I don't know, in a Holiday Inn, in a Premier Inn, in a travel lodge, spending about, 70 to 100 pounds a night. What do you want after all? Do you want a comfortable mattress? Do you
But
want
for
a
us,
good shower?
those are specified in the public administration circular. Each country has been given an allocation Now, for instance, when we were in government, you went to the US, you had a upper limit of maybe $130 or $140. I don't know how.
No, the
this really
allowance,
exists.
Malik, is $50
Yeah.
per day. That's $50. But I know people take more than that.
Yeah,
That's
so that is
when
what
whether
has
it's
to
the
be
president of the
regulated. No,
country or
as-
secretary,
as-
it's $50.
As we head towards a commercial break, I want to tell you very quickly 3 responses from our viewers. A, planters and tailors cannot run airlines, in reference to Sri Lankan, obviously.
Very true.
But when the government has a 51% stake, it is overbearing, something like SLT. And in response to which company owned by the government makes a profit, he's provided the answer, Ceylon Shipping Corporation. I'm not so sure about that, whoever it is. All right, but in the meantime, we'll go for a quick break. Do stay tuned to Newsline. Welcome back to Newsline on this wonderful morning where Badul and I are joined by Malik Kader
And tailors and planters.
and tailors and planters and airlines that are nose diving and Ranil trying to get hold of them. But Malik, there's an important question I'd like to ask you. You have a legal background too. Why shouldn't we get the Constitutional Council to recommend who should head the central bank?
Well, that's a suggestion. You can always suggest to the Constitutional Council and also make relevant changes if it's basically
It need a
wider-
change to the rules.
Yeah, for us, we're looking at some of the other senior officials who've been appointed. So if that's the case, you need to
Yes, why not?
get the entire gamut of senior officials. who
I
have been
think so.
appointed
Why don't
to
you
come
write a
to,
letter like you did last week?
Yes,
a letter
last week I wrote to the President. We will write this time again.
to the President with a copy to
will
the
you
Prime
append
Minister.
your signature to the
Definitely.
Good.
Write to the President with a copy to the Prime Minister.
Yeah,
Indeed.
because we have the Auditor General, I think a couple of other positions as well,
Yeah.
high-ranking positions, basically, who would, if that's the case, needs to be included. But there must be some rationale as to why the governor is not included in that.
Now, yesterday at lunch, I asked a financial man, I asked him to explain to me, why is it that every time we meet people in the business world, at the moment, they all say, nothing is happening. And I asked this chap, what do they mean by nothing is happening? And he said that business people are not sure. There's no stability of policy, no stability of the decisions made. And so people come here, they make their way to the BOI and all that, and they have discussions, and then they go back and they don't come. Because they, according to this chap, they're all watching. They're watching this space. But they're not just waiting and watching. They're moving their monies elsewhere, where there is more stability in terms of policy and so on. Is that about right? Is this all about stability?
Farad, I think you have a point in saying that. However, one needs to understand that there has been a change, right? It doesn't mean that the person in the next lap taking the baton is going to run as fast as the other person who gave him the baton. Now, the person who gave him the baton, gave him the baton, right, ran with certain considerations, right? Those considerations are slightly different, right? These considerations here are a little bit more, perhaps I could say, a little bit more democratic. Now, there you want to do a project, you just went overnight and you did it. So the next, you saw the growth rate announced by the central bank yesterday is about 4.8, right? That's basically fairly down from what it used to be. So I think in the short term, you're going to, as quite right to say, people are talking about stability, wait and see attitude. It's going to be a bit of a bumpy ride until and such time we have internal consumption being increased. For that to happen, there has to be these mega projects coming in, like the port city, a couple of projects like that coming in. We'll get more, a little bit more vibrant than we are. and then there'll be more consumption. People will have more jobs, local jobs, right? And then with that, gradually, you're looking at the economy moving forward. If you ask me overnight, whether it could happen, I don't think anywhere it has happened in that particular manner. So it is a gradual ride. It's going to be a slightly bumpy ride, right, in the short term. But I think looking at some of the policies, if implemented, right, the way it is said, the private sector to take over, right, on top gear where the economy is concerned, I think there is a lot of hope.
Malik, when do you think that a president or prime minister of this country will be able to stand up and speak the truth and say, you people in Sri Lanka, our people in Sri Lanka, you've never had it so good? When is that going to happen?
For us to do that, we have to take a good start. Now, in fact, the previous program I was just listening on Patikada, Krishmal was focused on that, trying to get a focus group, right, to talk the truth.
To empower
right?
people.
Empower people. And then organizations like this, right, media, we have to basically harp on good governance, right, and bringing out the truth. Well, when there is a lot of force in that direction, I'm sure people up there, right, would fall in line.
But
that also comes along with basically our culture, our education system, how people are used to doing things.
And
So that governance culture has to come in. I must, having said this, I must tell you, Faraz and Bandula, governance has improved, right? If you ask me whether it's 100, no, it's not 100, right? From some ground level, we have moved up to a certain level. We have a long way to go. So we need to gear
But
ourselves.
irrespective, Malik, this
to
party
take that.
politics, people, the issues.
Those are unfortunate things. Those are very unfortunate things.
We are
towards
far
the
too
progress,
politicized in this
towards
country.
the
That's the
progress
problem.
of this country.
we have got a very skeptical viewer, obviously, because he's given me what he calls the definition of Yahapalane. So listen up here. This is what he says. Only change we've got is those days the people were told to shut up and the government did as they pleased. Nowadays, the government lets the public and the media to shout as much as they like, but the government is doing as they like. That is the definition of Yahapalane, courtesy viewer. Is that
It's
true?
100% agreed, because we had yesterday Faraz lawyers Basil Fernando and previously Nagananda Kudujaku, they said the same thing.
Right.
They don't listen to us. They let us speak. 100% agreed.
But then, Bandla, I'm going to ask you another question in that case. Do you prefer the culture that we have now, or do you prefer the culture of white vans?
And now I
And being
read
dumped
about a
in the
blue
middle of the
van
morning.
yesterday or something, that from LTT guy, there was a blue van. But what I'm saying is, then or now, we have to keep the pressure on. We got to fight, we got to speak up. That's, because to me, all are the same. I've had experiences, these all are the same. We have to stand up for the people, the masses. Politicians, they belong to one club. They protect each other.
What do you say, Malik?
I think I fully agree with Bandula. Having said that, I must say that we have migrated to a different level from what we were. We were actually not in a very comfortable level. It was not very good, the period we are talking about.
Yeah.
But we have migrated. But having said that, I must say, it is not good enough. It has to get better.
The
right?
expectations are high.
For it to get better, there are loads of things to be done. Right? There has to be pressure groups, focus groups, media, right, bringing these things out. And democracy, exposure is something which is important.
But coming back for us, with your permission now, what the late Lakshman Kadaragama said, you got to fight within the system. You got to keep fighting. Whether then or now, you got to speak up. That's what is important. So people spoke up. Some people paid with their lives. That has to continue in a democracy, either way. You know that better. You got shot trying to expose things.
That's true. This same skeptical viewer says it's the same difference: 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. But do you think that the market will pick up?
Right. In the short term, I don't expect the market to pick up. For the market to pick up, there has to be good sentiments.
Right.
Right. So the sentiments need to be coming gradually.
What fuels sentiment?
Well, a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
Right. The business environment. Right. Some of the things which the policymakers are saying, and also for us, I mean, as I've been talking always, even the last program of the market, our market is a small market, right? If we are to take this market to the next level, this market has to grow at least 3 times, right? Compared to countries like Singapore, if you put a benchmark, if Singapore is 1,000, we are just 3. If Japan is 3,000-4,000, we are just 3. So we need to basically to be noticed, right, with the foreigners. We have to grow our size. Now, growing our size doesn't mean that you just invite 1 or 2 companies to list on the market. It's not going to help. It has to be much more than that. For which you need to take the bull by the horn and bring some of the big government entities to the market. It's a dirty word, right? In the political scenario, people will say privatizer, but you have to bring that with a governance framework, right? Private-public partnership, and then that's how you're going to grow the market. The economy of this country, some say, is not reflected in the market.
Telecom, do you consider it's a private-public partnership?
Yes, private-public partnership. Well? I think it would work better if you had a private management. Currently, we're having a government management because government has control. I mean, good old days, 40% stake. I think there was a foreign company who was managing it. Right? There'll be new technology which can flow into it. So, ideally, things like that, we need to get private partnership.
And the minister should not appoint people to these places because, like you said, private sector is the engine of growth. We have been saying that it should be private. Now, I'm bringing the issue of the trains again. It can give a very good service if it's privatized transport system, not like the way these private buses operate.
Right.
That's true, because whenever the government runs things, it just doesn't seem to work.
And they dump people.
Yeah, for us, one classic example is like the semi-privatization of the petrol stations. You know the type of petrol stations we had in the 70s, 80s and even the 90s, right? It was basically a shack, a privatization. We brought a Indian company, they decorated the petrol sheds. The Petroleum Corporation was forced, right, to follow suit to compete with them. Look at how nice the petrol stations are.
You couldn't even pump petrol during rain, especially.
Well, on that note, it's been an interesting morning. But we must remember, by the way, who it is that helped to privatize these petrol stations. See if you can remember, and let us know if you know the answer to that. In the meantime, Malik Kadir, thank you for being on our program. It's been nice to have you back where you started. And Badru, thank you. And after a long time, thought for the day, no matter who you are, how experienced you are, and how knowledgeable you think you are, always delay judgment. On that note, thank you for watching Newsline. Have an excellent day. Take care and God bless.
Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.